Hey, Cannapreneurs. Before we get started with today's show, I just want to mention one of our sponsors. Dairy Berry's recording studio, located in Arvada, Colorado, is your local recording studio with affordable rates. Mark is well experienced and will make your show, music, or any audio you have sound great. Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome back, friends, family, and Cannapreneurs. Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project. I am Brainstorm, bringing you your weekly podcast from the CCP studios high up in Denver, Colorado. Here exploring the business side of the newly emerging Colorado economy. Here focusing on the business, the patient, the retailer, to even the geek in the garage, tinkering around, making all sorts of cool technology gadgets, and coming up with the next innovation in cannabis. This is the first platform right here in Colorado to explore the business side of cannabis, helping cannapreneurs just like you build business models while living the lifestyle. This week's show, we sit down with a longtime friend to talk about some personal issues in cannabis, personal issues with drinking, personal issues. You know, this show isn't all about fun and games, smoking and joking. Sometimes we need to get at the root of problems. We need to figure out what's going on so we can help people move forward. And for every individual we help move forward, it helps the entire community move forward. Today, we're going to listen to our good friend Jay, part of the community out there who has a story to tell. Not a story unlike last week's. Remember last week's story with Soham from the Cannabis Commodities Exchange? Not the one we did about the business, the one last week. If you didn't hear it, go back and take a listen, and I'll play a few minutes for you right now, a little short-term memory relapse flashback so you can hear about it, because last week we learned about what do you do when you're confronted with an employer about cannabis, your involvement, your use, whatever it may be, how to get around that. This week, we're going to talk about what do you do when personal life is getting in the way? What do you do when your cannabis lifestyle conflicts with your other life and lifestyles? What do you do when drinking is part of your lifestyle? Well, these are some of the issues we're going to talk about, and we're going to get personal. And you might want to listen to this one, because even if you're not a drinker or a heavy drinker, maybe you haven't had issues at all with cannabis. Maybe you're not really that deep into the industry and you don't have stories to tell about growing up from high school and on, being involved in growing and selling and black market selling before the regulated, legalized industry came along. But these are stories that a lot of us who are at least my age and above had to live with, because this is new, the whole idea of walking into regulated open door dispensaries. Before that, there was a different lifestyle going on. I used to be part of it. Jay was part of it. And we're going to learn about how all this mixed together and where it comes out in the end. So before we do that, let's quickly look at last week's The Good News Is You're Fired episode, where you can learn a little bit about how to get around employment issues, how to work with employers, how to confront family members and those in public who maybe give you a negative vibe and are bumming you out because of the industry you chose to work in. Here we go. Last week's short-term memory flashback. Here it is.
My professional career and my career as an entrepreneur came to a crossroads, and I was faced with a decision of which path I wanted to go down. Neither of them were necessarily wrong. So I'm Soham Shah with the Cannabis Commodities Exchange. I'm the COO.
So what happened?
I was working a normal work week, a fairly big company in the financial sector, a private company. Due to standard federal regulations of financial institutions. I had to disclose any outside business activity, and they ultimately decided that it was either a conflict of interest and that they just didn't want to be associated in any way with the cannabis industry. So I was, I was left with a decision. I could either quit my work here at the Cannabis Commodities Exchange and focus on my professional career full time, or I could, take the startup plunge and just resign from the corporate job in my 2 weeks, and here I am.
Is there any loss of a career or your education?
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't spent a lot of my time in college preparing for a professional career. I went to a business school, but even while I was still in school, I had already made the decision that really the cannabis industry was the industry that I wanted to be truly a part of.
It's going to be a choice that companies are going to have to make, all the way down to testing, UAs.
I think it's just starting to come to light a little bit more, and people are more willing to say, yeah, I'm a cannabis user and I'm not a total, lazy person or a screw up or whatever other preconceived notions a lot of people have about the typical cannabis user.
What's the next step?
I'm glad to have gotten some of the experience and skills that I did while I was working there. I think I can hopefully provide a lot more focusing on this one aspect full time instead of having my time and my attention split between two different companies.
Then I would say what we take away is if you're working for somebody else, make sure you have that secondary job, position, possible career, idea you've been tinkering with, always on the back burner, because when you're working for somebody else, just like what happened to you, you can easily find yourself not working for somebody else. What else? What else should we learn from this? A person that ends up in a similar situation.
I say I don't have any type of legal education. I guess if they question me about my cannabis use, I would say something along the lines of I don't break any laws when I'm at work or when I'm not at work.
That's good. So keeping it specific to the situation. Maybe also being a good employee from the start.
And maybe redirecting the question towards counter with another question. Is my work quality being called into question or something along those lines?
So you're the boss, I'm the employee. You call me into your office and you try to confront me.
So, you smoke cannabis?
I don't do anything at work that's illegal. Are you unhappy with my work, with the quality?
See, now I have to address your work quality.
So number one, do good work.
Yeah, there you go.
Number two, don't be ashamed. And number three, have something on the back burner.
Yeah.
Have that B-roll waiting, so if you do end up losing your main gig, it's not a life-crushing experience. It's just a temporary transition to something else that's already there. And there you have it, last week's short-term memory flashback. Did you like that? Did you learn something? It wasn't too personal, was it? I mean, it was a story of life, a story of what's happening to many people and will continue to happen to people until as a community we become strong enough to combat it. But did you pick up some good tips? Did you get some good language and vocabulary to use? Some ways of thinking and how to express yourself to your family, employers, and the public? Because that's all we're trying to do here, is just help the community become better, ultimately making the world better. So if you didn't hear the full version and you liked what you heard just now, go back, take a listen, and make sure you click on the likes, follows, and all that. Share it with your friends. Leave a comment for our SEO readings. And you too can get your story on there. That's right. Maybe you have a story just like Soham, or maybe a story like this week with Jay, who you have some personal issues that you're going to expose to the world. Maybe it's just straight up business. Maybe you have a food business or a growing business or a health business, a legal business, technology business, or something else in the industry that would be relevant and good for our community to consume. I want to hear from you. Let's discuss these issues. Let's get them on the show. Contact me via email, phone, all the social media. I mean, if you're listening to my show now, you're probably savvy enough to figure out how to contact me. Let it be known I am out there looking for musicians every week to put on the show. I'm looking for businesses. I'm looking for individuals. So don't be shy. Track me down. Let's get you on the open airwaves of the Cannabis Community Project. Hey, before we move on to this week's Twin News, this weekend news, let's do another quick segment of our classifieds, our cannabis classifieds, our cannifieds, whatever you want to call them, whatever cool nifty name you can come up with. It doesn't matter, because right here is a place where you're going to hear individuals who are posting stuff that maybe you would have to go to Craigslist to find, and trust me, nobody wants to really be on Craigslist. There's nothing going on there. So if you have a specific cannabis related product, item, or something that you would have maybe put on Craigslist, let's get it on this show on the classifieds, and we'll let the audience hear what you got, what's for sale, what's for trade, the whole deal, and then you can just interact with those like-minded individuals. We have an individual who has a whole list of growing equipment. I'm just going to briefly run down the list, and if you hear something that catches your attention, contact me. I'll connect you with this individual. All private and confidential, and everything will be fully vetted out, so there's no worries here. This is a safe community you're dealing with, and I'll be the person in the middle making sure it stays that way. But we have a number of items, whether you're an indoor grower, whether you have a big operation and you're looking to thrift store your way to a bigger operation. Here's some good deals out there. Now, I'm going to read from the list here, so just bear with me. We have some 8-inch power vent fans. We have 2 8-inch, 2 6-inch adapters, about 2 pounds of activated carbon large grain, fan power carbon air filter box, small water fountain pump, EBB and flow fitting kits, hydro ton clay pellets, about a quarter bag, maybe 10 pounds, 5 advanced instant start electronic ballast for fluorescent lightings, each supports up to 4 bulbs, 11 bulb connectors for T8 bulbs, 4 timers, 2 250 watt MH bulbs, 1 175 watt MH bulb, 5 mogul bulb sockets, 2 MH reflectors, 1 has trimmed edge, magnet plastic clips, power center, 14 hydro grow baskets, and all the above for $50. We also have some Lumatech electronic ballast LK250 electronic ballast for 150 watt, 175 watt, 250 watt HSP or MH lamp voltage, 120 to 40 currents, a whole bunch of technical stuff that you can find out about. But basically, if you're looking for lights or anything else, they're like new for about $99. Firm offer on that. These sound like great prices. You know, I've been to a few growing stores, hydro stores, and I've talked to growers, so we know equipment's very expensive out there. And like I said, this is stuff that maybe you would find on Craigslist or everywhere else, but these are actual individuals I know that have contacted me. I vetted them out personally, so it's safe. You can contact me and I'll set you up with them, and you can go through their whole list of product pricing, the whole deal, knowing that it's a safe, secure place. And if you hook up, let us know, and we'll keep doing it. We'll keep running with the classified section, because I know there's more people out there that maybe have excess of this or too little of that or looking for this. So why not create a dedicated community where we can exchange, not too different than the commodities exchange, but dealing in a different type of commodity here. This would just be anything cannabis related except product, right? Don't contact me if you have product like plants to sell or actual medicine for sale. That's not what this is about. This is a classified section. You have lights, fans, bulbs, buckets, everything else that anybody could legally obtain and sell in the marketplace. That's what I'll advertise for you. So give me a call, send me an email if you're interested in checking out any one of these items, a long list of items and much, much more. Everything, once again, from lights, bulbs, ballasters, filters, the whole deal. I'll send you a full list if you give me your email. Just let me know. Now, finally, let's move on to Twin News, this weekend news. That's right, the news source that aggregates what's out there already. So I wish I had a budget and money to hire reporters and journalists and people to go out there and actually source some original stories, but not yet, right? Not yet. So what I'm doing is the next best thing. I'm spending the time to scroll through Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and a few other sites, and I'm looking for everything cannabis related, reading through the articles, briefly skimming them, finding the ones that seem to be the most relevant and interesting to this specific show, which is a business show. So I'm not going to give you a lot of articles about just stoner stuff and irrelevant, marijuana related stuff. I want it to be somewhat interesting and relevant news articles, but I'm aggregating it, consolidating it down, bringing you about 5 to 10 minutes of it, and pretty much making it sound like it's a natural, flowing, well-written piece that I've constructed, spent many hours putting together. But in reality, I'm just kind of reading the articles that are already put in front of me, and I just seem to have a knack for reading, so it sounds pretty good. At least that's what I think. Who really knows what it sounds like? But anyways, stay up to date, keep up on top of the knowledge. Quickly, just a few minutes here. Let's get into it. Twin News, This Week in News.
Good news!
Here we go. First up, coming out of the gate strong, Marijuana Policy Project posting a very sad day as the House committee passes regressive measure blocking marijuana decriminalization in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, the U.S. House Appropriations Committee passed an amendment intended to prevent the District of Columbia from implementing its recently passed law decriminalizing the possession of marijuana earlier today. MPP will be working with allies to remove this amendment before it proceeds to the House floor. Just goes to show you, when you have no representation, pretty much you're living under a dictatorship, even if it's done by a group of dictators. Oh boy, what are we going to do with these people? Hey, here's one by Money Watch CBS. Hey, were you here at the Cannabis Business Summit? If you weren't there, make sure you get the information and read the articles about it, because these type of events, summits, everything from the Cannabis Cup and everything else that's coming out, these are the things that are forming the industry standard. So make sure you know about it, get tickets, be involved, and support the movement. That's happening here in Denver. And I know you're probably saying, well, why are you reporting on it if it's already late in today? Because you should know about it. That's why. Did you see Jon Stewart the other night talking about Bill O'Reilly and marijuana texting? If you didn't, check out The Daily Show. Very, very funny segment posted all over the internet where you can just watch that segment if you don't want to watch the whole show, but it's always good to have a little bit of humor in life. California Cannabis Hemp Initiative 2016. We talked about it last week and we'll keep talking about it until it happens. Activists will be gathered this weekend in Santa Rosa, California for the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup. We'll be seeking support for California Cannabis Hemp Initiative 2016. Check it out. What happens in California is just like what's happening in Colorado and Washington and everywhere else. We need to support each other. Yes, this is the Colorado Cannabis Community Project, but it's really the worldwide cannabis project. It's the Universe Cannabis Project. So wherever cannabis action, news, support is needed, we'll be there. Key Nursing Union backs medicinal cannabis. NSW's Nursing and Midwife Union has taken the controversial step of supporting medicinal cannabis use. Posted by aeus.yahoo.com, you can read about it. You know, when unions get behind an issue, that's where money, power, and support really starts to legitimize an industry. Try telling the union no. They got the money, they got the manpower, and now apparently they're on the right side of the issue. We'll keep following that one. Another one from Cannabis Training University, just to remind you, if you're looking for a job in the industry, there's institutions and places out there that are wanting to help you find jobs. And Cannabis Training University is trying to get you trained and certified so you can go out and find a job with more effectiveness. Get your CTU certified online as a cannabis grower and bud tender for just $49.50. That's right, you can find that at thectu.com. You know, it doesn't matter if it's actually certified or recognized by any federal or state level. The point is there are institutions that are organizing and forming to start the process. And that's all we need. Very interesting article that came out last week. This one I'm reading from medicalexpress.com about schizophrenia and cannabis use. That they may share some common genes. A breakthrough coming through in medical science. Now, correlation, causation, who knows? But what they're finding is those who are prone to schizophrenia are also prone to cannabis use. What does that mean? Self-medication, or the body just naturally reaching out to what heals itself? Kind of like a flower when it reaches up towards the sun. Does it know that it needs the sun, or is it just doing what comes naturally to make sure it grows healthy? Maybe schizophrenics have something naturally in them, like, I don't know, cannabinoids that just reach out into the world and try to find something to balance their brain activity. Read about it. Schizophrenia and cannabis. Google it. What does that mean? It means there's nothing more that humans need to do to cannabis to consume it to receive its effects, which means the earth is naturally producing the drug in its ready form. Unlike many other drugs and chemicals that are produced synthetically in pharmaceutical companies, factories, and laboratories, where geniuses are putting together their brain power to come up with man-made chemical combinations, the cannabis plant comes from God, assuming you believe in that. MarijuanaDoctors.com. Chemotherapy is a very invasive and aggressive approach to curing cancer. Essentially, they dose you with harmful chemicals and hope you are stronger than the cancer. Cannabis, on the other hand, only targets these mutilated cells and does not cause harm within the patient. If you want to go the chemo route, that's fine, but we only ask that you give the rest of us a choice in the matter. It's very interesting and definitely a personal issue to me, as I had a brother who passed a few years ago from leukemia, very rare form of cancer that he had, suffered through it all the way with chemo. And I gotta tell you, being exposed to it very third party, very distant from the outside, watching what it does to a body, it's sad and it's sickening. And it's agonizing to watch somebody have to intentionally poison themselves to try to get rid of a greater poison. When there are chemicals out there naturally that come from cannabis that are shown to fight it and counteract it. Do we need to say any more about that? Marijuana majority, while the substance of his amendment is outrageous, I at least appreciate Representative Harris admitting during the debate that voting for it won't do anything to help the polling numbers of members of Congress, said Tom Engel, chairman of the marijuana majority. In an email, the public is way ahead of most politicians on what has quickly become a mainstream majority-supported issue. Poll after poll shows that marijuana reform enjoys much broader support than voters than most elected officials do. You know, speaking of health studies, another report coming out, this one posted by LeafScience.com, about the connection between Alzheimer's caused by loss of cannabinoids. Here we are. Cancer, Alzheimer's, and so many other very serious diseases, and the link is being established to the cure. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not about money, folks. It's about health. Richard Branson, the war on drugs has failed, so let's shut it down. If I started a business and it was clearly failing, I would shut it down. The war on drugs has failed. Why isn't it shut down? You know, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, so many other very successful people openly talking about admitting to their own cannabis use. Very rational. What's going on, people? Obviously, it's not a rational war. We can't fight this with logic and what makes sense. People that are opposed to it are not opposed to it because of logical conclusions. They're opposed to it because of deep-seated ideology, hate, prejudice, and just a pure desire to watch others suffer is what I believe. Hey, check out Adam Scorgi posing with 150 pounds of cannabis for his new doc, The Culture High, which is being released later this year. The Union, remember that movie, The Union, the great one of the look behind the scenes? Well, not really look behind the scenes, but a look behind the culture of cannabis. Here's another one about the business behind getting high. There's a few movies out there. Joe Rogan can recommend you to a number of them. That's where I was introduced to a number of them. Listen, read, learn all about them because it's all ammunition. The more information you take in, the more information you'll have at hand ready to give back out to those who are trying to give you disinformation. Where's weed.com? Jamaica looks to profit from decriminalizing marijuana. Jamaica's marijuana laws will soon undergo drastic changes that are expected to pave the way for legal industry surrounding cannabis. This is kind of important because Jamaica stereotypically is known as the, hey, Rasta man, let's get high. This is where all the weed comes from. But for everybody I know that's visited the country, it talks about the extreme strict laws and extreme punishment that comes from those who try to use it, seek it out, or consume it on that island. So this is a step forward because, like everywhere else, one by one, the domino effect. Thank you, Colorado. Thank us. Hey, did you hear this one? Posted by many. This one specifically, I'm reading from the Cannabis Now magazine. FDA evaluates the reclassification of cannabis as Schedule 1 substance. Read the full story at Cannabis Now magazine. This could be big. Coalition for Cannabis Policy Reform posting the article about the Pope. Many have posted it. Reason magazine, always pointing out the fallacy of prohibition, as prohibitionists typically do. Pope Francis conflated drug use with drug abuse when he denounced marijuana legalization on Friday. Oh, I had so much hope for this Pope. He was going in so many right directions with so many issues. And then here it is. The Pope, quite frankly, just needs to meet more users. Cannabis users. Call them whatever you want. Or call them drug users. Just meet more people who are actually consuming. Not those who the media chooses to write about and report about. Not those who the cops strategically pull out of their statistics and tell you about. I'm talking about the real people out there. The majority of people. Those who are like you and me. There is no stereotype. There is no standard. There is no individual that has the look. There's those that have a look of this and a look of that. But I guarantee you, if we lined up 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever people, and asked you to pick out those who use, you would pick out stereotypes and you would leave the majority behind who are actually using. So the Pope, politicians, and all those others out there in positions of authority and power and influence need to take their own advice and actually go out and meet individuals on the street. Go out and meet them. You might be surprised. You might be surprised how many of them are just normal people. Working 8 to 5 jobs, getting up in the morning, going to bed at night, taking their kids to soccer, ballet, and everything else. The ones who are out there just simply consuming something as you would see one consume a beer, maybe a cigarette, maybe just a big fat greasy steak and a hamburger. Doesn't really matter. Stop judging. Stop judging. I thought this was the message of Jesus or religion or however far back or whatever point of history you want to take it. I thought this was what it was all about. That we weren't supposed to judge each other. We were just supposed to love each other and accept each other and get to know each other. This is why when you know somebody, a friend, family member, you can't believe when they do something bad. You defend them to the end because you know them. And this is the same idea with large groups. It's impossible to know everybody. So you start generalizing and stereotyping. You know, the Pope, supposedly Catholic, has, billion some people under his influence. So he has the ability to influence a sixth of the world or more now. I think the population is approaching 7 billion. But he has the ability to influence literally billions of people. Why? Because he's in that artificial structure that's been created by humans and mankind. We've given him this power and privilege of influence. What does he do? Does he go out there and actually meet those? Does he go out there and actually learn about it? Does he go out there and actually follow the teachings that he is teaching? I don't know. I'm not much of a religious person myself, but I do consider myself to be very much into the human spirit of human kindness, human interaction, paying it forward, trying to make society better, living life to your fullest so we can all be happier, and just treating others with respect. I know when I meet people that I don't know, I judge them. I immediately make assumptions about them, and then I get to know them. I get to know them, and then I allow so many things to pass that if they were strangers, I would easily condemn and push aside. Now, I don't want to go off on a rant about religion, because that's not what this show is about. Because I want to take a moment for you to sit in your own thoughts in silence and think about, how are you treating the world? How are you treating your neighbor? How are you treating yourself? Are you being judgmental? Have you taken a minute to actually go out and meet and get to know and understand those around you? When you find out somebody's an alcoholic, do you push them away in judgment? Or do you try to get closer in understanding? What would you want somebody doing to you when they find out you're a cannabis user? Do you want them pushing you away and judging you? Or would you like them to get closer and get to know you? And that's what I would like us all to take just a second to focus on today. Let's think about it. Let's take a second. Let's take that second right now. Right now while we have the chance. You're listening. What else you got to do? And just think about what we've done to the world, to our neighbors, to ourselves. And ask the question, have we done right? Have we done wrong? Are we doing it better? MarijuanaDoctors.com posting again, cannabis has been used to treat alcohol and opiate addictions since before the 1900s. It is still a very suitable treatment for alcoholism. You know, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I talked about this in past shows, and you can go back and find the show. The one I believe it was called Me, Myself, and I, Get Real, where we talk about my own cannabis use and the origins of it, and my own struggles with alcohol. Now, this is a good story that wrapped into today's show as we talk with Jay, because there's a little bit of the same theme going on here about individuals who struggle with alcohol use, who struggle with their ability to control their urges and what happens to them on alcohol. But yet cannabis seems to take that away, at least good cannabis. When you're consuming good cannabis on a regular basis, it almost diminishes to extinction the desire to drink, because nobody really wants to be drunk when you're high. Being drunk is not fun. Being buzzed is fun for the first few minutes until it passes to that stage. Being drunk isn't fun. And people that are right now listening saying, oh, whatever, being drunk is fun, greatest thing. Yeah, no, it's not. Nobody likes you when you're drunk. You are not cool when you're drunk. When you wake up the next morning, it's not fun times. When you look at the pocketbook, how much you spent, if you had a video that played back the night of everything you did, there's nothing good about alcohol. Very little. So here's something that's actually proven to help those who struggle with it. And I have to openly admit, I struggle with alcohol. I still use it. I drink a beer every now and then. I don't drink like I used to. And to be honest and open, it's because of cannabis. And I'm proud of it. That's all the news you need to know this week. And that was Twin News, This Week in News, your weekly source for up-to-date cannabis. Hi, this is True Diligence, PI, proud sponsor. If you're looking for a job in the cannabis industry, you know how fierce the competition is. Think of the character you'll demonstrate by showcasing your credentials at the beginning of the hiring process. A simple yet affordable way to show employers you're the clear choice. Visit our website at truediligencepi.com.
Move your resume to the top.
Are you a believer in luck, karma, spirits, curses, and everything else? You know, talking to my old friend Jay kind of made me think of this. Because sometimes people are just cursed with bad luck. As long as I've known Jay, coming up on 16, 17 years, he's just one of those guys that can't seem to get himself out of the system. He knows we're talking about this, so it's no secret. He has 5 DUIs. He also has a newborn baby, just over a year old. But he's also probably one of the hardest working guys I know. He's kind, has ideas, seems to be wanting more from life, but has just one of those little hitches that has just kept him involved in the system for almost his whole life. Can you break the cycle? How do you break the cycle? Does being involved in the industry determine your life or where you're going to end up and almost ensure that you're going to be in trouble? Why not me? Why not others? Why him? We try to work through these issues. This isn't a business we're talking to. This is a life, a person's life. And we're talking about life change, life destiny. But we're also talking about how we got involved in this industry and where we came from. What were the events that led us to it? So as you're listening to Jay talk today, picture just any other individual. Could be your brother, sister, cousin, friend, and think about it. Are the choices they made 100% their own responsibility, and that's where life has brought them? Or is it just luck sometimes? Is it just luck that makes some people get in trouble and the others get away with it? Well, we're going to try to figure it out. And at the end of it, we're going to turn this life around. Because cannabis is a positive thing. And being involved in the cannabis industry is about constantly self-exploring life and yourself, desires, dreams, and everything else. And what is it that we can make better about ourselves?
I still try to just do it for the plant because it helps people, and as far as the profit goes, I make less than I used to, but I still feel I'm doing a good thing for people out there that are in need of that commodity.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be involved in the industry, but I don't want to be a grower. I don't really want to be a retailer of it. I'm not really attracted to being exactly, sitting behind a dispensary counter, having some middle-aged dude ask me what do I recommend.
Right.
I don't want to be doing that.
No.
When I was younger, I kind of liked the undergroundness of it. I liked driving, 4 hours, 5 hours to Pueblo, whatever, to pick up shitty bricked in Mexican weed and truck it back and break it up, make a huge profit margin, the whole deal. I don't think I'm going to be out of the industry. Like I said, I'm trying to make my brand based on being involved in cannabis.
Same here. I mean, I've been wanting to basically apply some of the techniques that I've learned through various growers over the course of my, marijuana career, and that I feel that a lot of the product nowadays is basically pushed through for a supply and demand type of mentality, where it's not really catered towards the plant itself and producing a quality product.
So are you a believer in like plants should be grown organically with certain types of feed and under certain types of conditions?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a formula for my soil. I got different techniques of how to maximize yield, some other off-the-wall, not really harebrained ideas, but just kind of
the saw vent idea. I mean, you seem to be full of ideas. I mean, that was
just in the sense of growing techniques. It's just a matter of applying them. I just haven't had.
Well, give me one
space.
technique that you think is unique, or something that maybe you do that somebody else doesn't do. What's something that's unique in growing?
Well, one technique that I haven't applied that was kind of unique would be an upside down plant.
Hanging from the ceiling.
And your light's on the floor.
Okay. So the light is pulling the plant down, and gravity and everything is letting it drop down, so it takes less energy because it's
less energy. I feel that the THC quality and content would be higher because gravity is working for the plant as opposed to against it.
And that would make more
potent
each
flowers. Yeah.
Interesting. So the bummer is that there's no real way to test that, right? Without going to like a controlled lab or a farm. Like, how do you test that idea?
I have a concoction of, an apparatus where you basically put your lights on the floor, shining up, and
Interesting. I'm gonna recommend that to my grower and my caretaker and see what they say. I mean, that would just simply be so the roots would also grow down alongside the plant, or where would the roots be secured?
they'd be secured, elevated,
And then how would you feed them?
same way you do any other plants.
From the top?
Yeah.
Have some type of medium?
Root fed, or you can feed them on a spray system, or
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend that. I want to see what my grower thinks. Kind of a picky dude when it comes to growing, like everybody. So.
well, nobody's ever tried it. That's why I'm like, well, why not?
Well,
But then again,
do you have plants? Are you growing?
I don't have plants.
Well, how about the person you're buying your stuff from? Recommend it to them. See what they say.
Well, the problem with something like this is the tried and true is always what sticks. Nobody wants to take like 4 plants and experiment in back of their closet or something.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Because they're hoping that they get at least 1/4 pound per plant, which is about your average.
maybe 2-foot plant, or how big are you talking? 4 ounces? This dude I was talking to last week from California said they're growing Christmas trees that have been there for 20, 30 years in the ground that produce pounds.
Yeah, I believe it. So yeah, I mean, your average household grower will yield only 4 to 6 ounces per plant. But some of your more seasoned veteran growers
Well,
will
growing
farm
is-
a freaking
If
crop
somebody
like
could
no other.
invent a growing greenhouse that was almost self-contained, because I don't have any type of green thumb sensibility. I've tried to grow a few plants before. They've died. Had clones given to me. They've died. I don't have that sense about them. So for me to have live plants in house, I either need somebody to come caretake them,
Right.
or I need them to be in a box that's almost self-contained.
Right.
So it's me pushing a button that says push here.
Yeah.
And then plants are produced somewhere at the end of the line. Come up with that box, and you're a billionaire.
Right. Well, I've actually
Well, that
hashed
is
it
the
over
future.
with one of my good friends that showed me some growing techniques, and he was on when all this started to come about, all the legalization and all, was to provide workshops on showing people how to take
Right.
care of their plants.
That's
And then also, for a minimal price, we establish the plants, set them up in your house, and come by and check on them every so often.
And how much did you want to charge for that?
Can't remember what we had come up with, but it was a fair amount.
Yeah, I mean that's like one of my sponsors. I have HMO Plus. They do something similar. They build off-site grow houses. So instead of coming in and turning somebody's room or bathroom or closet into a grow space, they build a shed out of the house that's mobile on a trailer hitch. So it's not a freestanding thing. It's basically a trailer, and then they just build it like a shed, and then inside that shed is just a permanent all seasons type growing house. And that's a few $1,000 product, and it requires people to build it, and they're all customized, and it's a big production. But a box that was maybe 4 by 2 that could maintain maybe 1, 2, 3 plants that got about 18 inches to 24 inches. It was all enclosed environment, but still able somehow to get the buds out and without breaking the ecosystem.
Right.
Sell it for $200, $300.
Right.
And then you would just have a continuous, it would pay for itself in a matter of a month or two.
Oh yeah.
Because how much is an ounce?
Well, right now, your average is somewhere high-end stuff, $200, maybe even more.
All right. So maybe a month and a half. It pays for itself, so maybe the box needs to be $1,000.
Right.
It has to be worth at least a few months of paying for itself. But ideas like that. Oh, that's the idea I was going to tell you before about the workshop. That you have an idea like that, right? And you want to prototype it. You go to a place where there's a bunch of tools, people that know how to use them. You pay an hourly fee to use all the tools, have the help. There's a billion ideas. And all of them could be successful.
Right.
I mean, more than breaking your back doing demolition. I mean, that doesn't sound like a fun job at all.
Actually, it was very, it was like paid anger management. I can show you a project. I took a whole house $1 million house down to frickin' nothing.
So you have a lot of
hammer.
anger? Is that the root of your drug use and your drinking? Anger?
No, I just channel it in the right direction.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
have noticed that without smoking marijuana, that my aggravation gets to a short fuse on certain days, or
And then that makes you want to drink, or just smoke, or just get angry.
well, I've been able to, usaba or serenity now, type of thing. Take some, do my own little techniques to calm myself down, but it would help if I could medicate.
Well, I think that's the allure of drinking, is that it's so easy and it's so quick, in the sense that literally if you make yourself a 2-finger whiskey or whatever, or, you get a good sized drink and you down it in whatever amount of time, it's a quick fix.
Yeah.
I see the allure. I've been there.
Yeah.
I experience it, but I combat it frequently and violently with my smoking.
Right.
I'm in heated battle against drink, because I have those same desires. In my family, I would say there's a good deal of alcoholism in my family, and I in my personal past have had many instances as a direct result of drinking. So it's one of those demons that I fight with also.
A lot of these drug counselors that I've frequented over the past years for DUI classes and whatnot get mad at the point of me saying I don't drink because I want to get drunk. Beer just happens to be a beverage that I like to pair with certain things, whether it be fish, chicken, food. In what we're talking about, is
so it's one of those situations where I only drink when I'm happy or sad.
No, I mean, people drink to forget or drink to remember or whatever.
Are you saying you don't subscribe to that? Do you subscribe to a traditional AA kind of outlook on drinking?
No, because over the past couple of months, I went to a couple of them, and those guys are hardcore to where they can't even freaking step out their door without thinking about alcohol. And granted, I drink every day for a good amount of time, but it wasn't something that ruled my life like these people need frickin'...
You don't relate with them.
I couldn't relate with them, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been forced to many AA meetings when I was younger. The whole reason I was located here to Denver was to go through the Synergy Pier 1 program out at Fort Logan.
I know where it's at.
There. I spent 12 months there going through that program. That was my first introduction to Denver and everything. So I'm well aware of AA and how that whole system of how treatment is set up. And now there's some combating treatment ideas. There's the whole movement of people who say you can drink in moderation and still recover yourself or be in recovery. I don't know if they even classify themselves as being in recovery, but it's the movement of, okay, so you had a habit of drinking one way, now you're reforming your habit to drink another way.
Basically, I've taught myself that.
As a result of having 5 DUIs?
Yeah.
So it took 5.
Well, the DUIs is just what's on paper. I mean, it was after the 4th one. After the 4th one, I pretty much cleaned up my act, went back to college, kind of got my head on right.
And you had a child, right?
I have a child now, yeah.
I mean, these are some pretty big events.
As far as twisting my drinking habits and patterns to where they were more manageable and knowledgeable on myself of where things could lead if I were to continue to drink that way.
How old is your daughter?
She'll be 1 next week.
So when was your last DUI?
September 2012.
Oh, so almost a year later than she was born, more or less. So, I mean, those are some pretty big life-changing events. I mean, I know when I had my daughter, it's kind of a big pivotal point. And when I came back to the States, it was another big pivotal point, kind of a good excuse of how to stop drinking, because now I had access. I went and got my red card almost immediately within a couple months of being back.
Right.
I went and got my red card because I knew, even all those years in Mexico, drinking heavily, drinking a full liter of tequila by myself. And as a result, many shameful things that I had done during those years and regrettable things. But now, as a result of being able to smoke, I look back at that as like, whew, I got lucky.
Right.
Because so many things could have gone the other way.
Right.
As a result of drinking.
Yeah.
Still, I can't believe they're still going to give you a license to drive. Because literally, it feels like for 20 years you've had driving or drinking issues or something. Where,
right.
But how are you going to go about this again now? You say you still drink, so what's the plan? Is there...
Well, I'll only drink at home. Yeah. And if I do drink it when I'm out, there'll be a significant amount of time of lapsed before I drive.
Yeah.
Or just always have a designated driver.
Do you feel like drinking has a hold on you in the sense that maybe you can...
Well, I don't have to drink. That's the thing.
How long can you go without drinking?
Well, I've gone freaking 6 months.
Because of incarceration or
partly of incarceration.
So that doesn't count if you're being forced.
Yeah, but I put myself in the environment where most people with, You
didn't suffer DTs, you didn't have the shakes.
No.
But do you fear that? Like one day?
No.
You're still young.
I don't fear
we
that.
easily have another 35 to 45 years ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
Decent health. So, do you come from a drinking family?
Yeah, not really. I mean, kind of.
Mom, dad?
Not to the degree that I took it to. But I wouldn't say that there's alcoholism in our family. There's just use of alcohol.
Yeah. My stepdad was a heavy drinker, alcoholic. But when I was young, I didn't recognize it or see it. It wasn't until years later when it was kind of informed to me, and then looking back on it and being like, oh yeah, okay, now I get it.
Right.
Kind of deal. And I don't know. I mean, does it bother you for your daughter? Like, do you believe in the gene, the alcoholic gene? I don't personally.
I don't think it's going to be an issue, being the trouble that I've dealt with.
Right.
That way I can teach her and do the right thing. Because of her, it more or less is going to be like what shuns me from drinking into excess.
So somebody put a cold rum in front of you or a ready-to-go bowl. Where are you pulled to?
I'm going towards the weed.
Yeah? It's your first instinct? So maybe it is controllable.
Well, yeah.
You don't get thirsty.
Because, I mean, I even just tried this new one that Crown Royal Maple with a vanilla Coca-Cola was off the chain. But it's something that is more desirable on a 3 to 6 times a year type of thing as opposed to smoking weed.
Yeah. Are you gonna keep selling weed to support your lifestyle right now?
Well, yeah.
I think you should run with as many weed, cannabis, marijuana ideas as possible, because in a lot of ways you're kind of like me, where because of certain criminal offenses and this and that, certain parts of life are cut off.
Right.
So you might as well, like in judo,
capitalize,
right? Turn the person's
force against themselves,
right? So if society's already kind of calling you a minimum wage, labor, always in trouble, burnout, turn it around and basically embrace it. And that's what I'm doing with the industry. That's why I'm doing the show, but then I'm also trying to get involved in other little things. And I'm going to be the cannabis guy.
Right.
For better or for worse, whether it works with me or against me, that's what I'm going to go for and try to make success out of it from something that very easily, not too long ago,
was shunned and
I could have easily been arrested. Any one of those trips back and forth to Pueblo, one of those individual sales, any one of anything, just as much as anything else. So I guess there's hope for everybody to make change.
Right.
In life.
Yeah.
And now having kids is kind of like a copy extension of you. You get a chance to do it over with somebody else.
Yeah, and that's what I look forward to, and it's definitely
30 hours.
Did you just say bye, baby?
Yeah, fuck. Because she's working.
Sorry. Interview over.
She's worked one more baby.
Trash it.
Hey, get one more girl.
I told you. Quiet. We're sitting here recording.
Oh, we're online?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Well, you don't have to tell me. I'm always live.
Thanks for listening to this week's show. Make sure to come back next week. We're going to have more guests lined up, speaking with dispensary owners, growers, business owners. Make sure to follow us on all of the social media, Facebook, Kush Common, Google+. You can listen to our shows live from the website or your preferred listening platform. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, even YouTube, all under the same name, CannabisCommunityProject.com. We'll see you next week.